Hello, 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 you beautiful people. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Just setting it up. If you are here watching this live, do say hello. It's really lovely to know who is here. I always encourage a dialogue, kind of active engagement as much as possible on these lives, as if we're sat in a room together having really juicy conversations around all things creative. So do say hello if you are here. Let me know you can hear me okay. I've got a very, very exciting live for you this evening, so I hope you're all sat comfortably, got your cup of tea or whatever your tipple of fancy is on this Tuesday evening. Hello, gorgeous. You just slipped in there, didn't you? Welcome, welcome. Okay, so let's get going here today. I do encourage you to comment as we go along, anything that resonates for you, any questions you might have. I will notice and I will respond as much as I'm able to do so. So let's get going today. So this is the ultimate paradox. Everything in life is a paradox, isn't it? I think we realize that more and more as we get older. The ultimate paradox is we are made of desire. We're made of desire. The desire for the little, I mean, I say little, I mean really little sperm to find the ovum, the desire for cells to form, to keep forming, the desire for life to be created, the desire for our heart to beat, the desire to be born, the desire to breathe, the desire to get up, the desire to connect, the desire to create, the desire for every single thing is desire. And we only have to look at nature to understand this, especially plants and trees and fruits and crops. They all show us how strongly this force of desire, this sap, it's like an invisible sap that is within us, moves us all the time. You could say that we are constantly being moved as life itself, being moved in life, for life. We represent spirit or life moving through us. And sometimes those desires, those longings, those yearnings are so strong in us. So strong, we ache. And then sometimes they're incredibly quiet. They whisper. They don't make much noise. They're quite intimate. But we all have this yearning, these longings and these desires. And the way that these are expressed in us as human beings, created with all of our senses and sensitivities, is through three main areas. The first is our creativity. And I'm not just talking about creativity as if you're an artist, but how we create the life that we have, how we dress, how we create our home, the environment we're in, the lighting, what kind of foods we eat, how we create meals for ourselves, for our loved ones, how we create our own family, how we create the days that we would like, the evenings. Everything we do is a creation. The second aspect where this moves through us as life is in our sexual energy. And this has got nothing really to do with when we think about that word, sex, sexuality. This has nothing to do with whether you're celibate, whether you have many lovers, whether you've been in a steady relationship, whether you're straight, gay, whether you don't identify as anything. This is more to do with the outward expression of the desires. And often that expression is through our voice. And that voice can be through our words, through our language. It could also be through a creative media. It could also be through how our body is. Moving into a dance, we reach out to place our hand on someone's back. We hug somebody. We place our hand as a no. This is all our sexual energy. It's how we express our voice of who we are, of that life moving in us into the world. And the third way is in the currency of our life. The currency of our life. And this one very much connects to money, to finances, to the things that in the society, in the world that we live in, are a form of exchange. Our creativity, our sexuality, money can all be forms of exchange. And they're all healthy. The desires for all of this, the fullest expression, the enjoyment of, the abundance of, the freedom of, these are all part of the natural beingness of each and every single one of us. And we know that this manifests in so many different ways, which is amazing. It is amazing. We're all so different. It is incredible. We are all as unique as our own fingerprints. And that is mind-blowing when you think about how many people there are on the planet. It really is. It'd be really, really boring if we all were exactly the same. But we're not. However, that ability to be in the freedom of expressing ourselves, to live in the energy of life, which is generosity. Life is generosity. To live in that energy, a lot of us struggle to do so. And a lot of this is to do with the conditioning that we've been brought up with. The disempowerments that we've been taught. The belief that we are wrong, that our desires are wrong, that our expression of who we are is wrong somehow. It's not normal. Might be slightly kinky in whatever way that is. It's too much. It's not enough. It's too quiet. It's too loud. It should be like this. It needs to fit in with that. It shouldn't rock the boat. It shouldn't upset anybody or disappoint others. It shouldn't make people judge. But this is all the case. And this is what happens with our yearnings to express the fullness of these energies in our life. And it's very strong. We live in this society, I'm not going to go so much into this, which is, we just know this. It seems to be getting worse. Where there is so much shame, there is so much fear, there is so much judgment, all equal separation. Because when we are separate, we can turn against each other. We can be suspicious. We can be controlled. When we come together, we have a sense of understanding the wholeness of each and every single one of us. That is love. That is true generosity. That is true freedom. So we're going to explore this a little bit more today. So I hope you'll find this interesting. I've been, really super juiced up about all of this. So, one of the big reasons that I'm really passionate about this work and really passionate about sharing all of this with you is something that I've said it so many times before, and I'll continue to say this until the end of time. But I think it is even more significant in the times that we're living in, particularly over the last few years. The world needs us creative beings. The world needs the magic that each and every single one of us has to offer out into the world. Because it is magic. This spirit, this life that moves through us it's magic, it's mystery, it's the unknown. It's the wonder and awe of who we are. It's our soul's imprint in this world. And for me, when we live really aligned with that, when we allow that, when we express that, for me, that is the ultimate form of activism. It really is. To live who we are, the authenticity of who we are. But it sure ain't easy. That's for sure. It's not easy. And I know that massively, massively so. It's taken me pretty much nearly 50 years of my life to reach a place where I go, do you know what? This is who I am. This is what I'm here to say, to be, to do. And it's still a work in progress. I don't think this journey ever, ever ends into freedom, into unlearning all the ways that we've been bound and imprisoned and limited. The hugeness of who we are, because all of us are limitless. Our possibility, our potential is limitless. However, when we get blocked, and we will often, especially as artists, we understand that when someone says, I'm feeling blocked creatively, or maybe our sexual energy is blocked for whatever reason, we've just lost that sense of desire, that ability to be turned on. Or maybe we're finding it difficult and we're struggling financially and we can't understand why, or it's always been like that. When we're blocked, this actually impacts the deep sense of happiness within us and a sense of purpose that can move through us. And I'll explain a little bit more what I mean by that. When we are blocked, it's like everything gets turned down. The dial of who we are gets turned down. We get stuck. We can't flow. We might get stuck in a place for quite a long time. We might live most of our lives in a block. And maybe we don't realize we're living there. And we make ourselves very, very small. And we live in that. And that feels, it might be okay until the day it isn't. Until we realize we are too big for this place. And a lot of the times how that manifests is through simply feeling disillusioned, feeling flat, feeling like we've lost our joy. Simple joys like seeing a beautiful sky in the evening or the taste of your cup of tea in the morning. It could also be a little more serious than that, where we feel a sense of depression. Maybe we have more anxiety going on. We don't feel right. And also these creative blocks, the flow, not being able to move in us, literally creates energetic blocks in the body that then create dis-ease, physical illness. There is so much correlation and so much scientific research, even going all the way back to the yogas, where this link between the body and the mind or thoughts are the same. So I'm sure we all know this place, don't we, of feeling blocked creatively, feeling a blockage in our money, feeling a block in our sexual energy, feeling a sense of that turn on tap has been turned right down. And that's, it's a shame. So let's go back a little bit here to why these particular things we're talking about, our creativity, our sexuality, and finances, really, money, why these are some of the things that we've learned, the messages about being wrong or staying small about. Our pleasure, our erotic charge is power. It's powerful. It's a powerful, healing, enlivening, vital force. Maybe you know that one yourself when you feel super turned on, you're listening to great music, you're dancing, you just feel this, you feel good, I'm sure all of us kind of know this one. Our financial freedom is power. And I'm not necessarily talking about having to have like shitloads of money. I'm talking about being able to have enough money that we are able to live. We're able to thrive. We're not just simply in a survival mode. And this is part of, again, the energetics of how we are creating our life. But our financial freedom, we're not hooked into this survival, the cost of living and so on, which is so much about what is put out there. That is power. We're giving our attention to other things, the things that actually feed us, make us feel really alive. And our creative expression is power, because this is, as I mentioned before, this is our voice. This is the voice we have in the world. And that voice, the freedom to put our message across, the freedom to question, not just to take on faith everything that's said, but to question, like the innocent little one. Why? If you're ever around kids, little kids, why? But why this? Yeah, but why that? But why is that? Why what? It's great. Never stop asking why. It's such a great question to live always in your life. I think when we stop asking why, there is something going on there. So we have these three things which are literally our power. So you can start to see why we might have been programmed and learned behaviors and beliefs and stories and narratives, our own, our families, our society, the culture, the religions and so on, that just contains that power. So it's not too much. You don't have too much magic in the world. Now, I don't know about you, but I like the idea of having a lot of magic in my world. Being able to use that magic in really good ways. For myself, for my family, and for my community. To use the magic to be in service. This is very important. How we use our magic, our intention, why we want things, is really, really important to understand. So this magic energy, when we have our freedom of these powers, is very trickster energy because it can literally turn things on its head. It can change things. It can create revolutions, you know. It's very witchy. Sorcerer, witches. Now, I don't have to tell you what has happened in the past to witches who have been using and expressing and living in and as their power. It's not had a happy ending. And a lot of us will carry this witch wound, this absolute ingrained in ourselves fear around actually using our power, owning that power, voicing our power. It's not a surprise, is it? You know, I think the tide is definitely turning. So, first thing, to start to become more aware of these aspects in your life. So already, even from just what I'm saying, maybe it makes you think a little bit more about your creative expression in your life, how you use your voice, how you live. Maybe it's making you think a bit more about your sexual freedom and how much you allow your desires, your pleasure. And maybe it's making you think about your financial story on how you're living. Am I living in survival mode? Is that what I'm used to? Or am I living in living mode? You know, my needs are met, but yeah, living mode's okay. Am I living in thriving mode? Am I thriving? So the first thing we want to do here with all of these, so this is all about the energetics of all of these, is we have to understand that we will see people out there in the world, and we do, who are embodying the fullness and freedom of these aspects. Now, the first thing to ask ourselves is, what is my reaction or response to somebody who is filthy rich? What is my response to them? Do I celebrate in and admire and enjoy maybe how they show that wealth off, how they're living in that, how they're experiencing that, what they look like, what they're choosing to do with their money? Interesting, isn't it? Or would you just think they're an asshole? And how about somebody who, I don't know, who's a really successful or famous artist or creative being, perhaps in the field or area that you'd like to be in, or maybe who's running a business, who's an entrepreneur in a similar field to yourself, and they have a huge audience, really successful, you see their face everywhere, hear amazing things. What do you think towards them? Do you feel like, oh, I could learn from them? How amazing. I love being in their energy. You know, this is great. Or not. And what about somebody who's sexually free? What then? Do you judge them? Do you call them names secretly? Are you fearful of them in that particular energy? It's very powerful sexual energy, as all of these are. So it's a really interesting place just to begin to notice, what are my reactions and responses to people that seem to embody the ultimate freedom in each of these areas? And do let me know, if there's anything coming up of like, oh, actually, maybe I do judge people that have this or seem to express that. It's interesting because I think one of the big things that comes up for a lot of us can be jealousy. I totally own the fact that jealousy is a huge thing for me. It's one of my shadow places. Now, jealousy is an interesting one because straight away we can go into the judgment of jealousy. Oh my God, I shouldn't have that. I'm a bad person and so on. But actually, jealousy can really show us something. To have such a response, such a visceral, because it's so visceral, jealousy, to somebody else's abundance that they're living in and demonstrating, can show that we are perhaps yearning for that. Maybe we've denied ourselves that. We have our reasons why it's not good to have too much money, or I'm too spiritual to have too much money, or I shouldn't make loads of money off doing this kind of work, or, or successful artists, actually they're probably a complete dick, and, they're kind of caught up in a system and it's all vanity, or, look at them in their kind of sexual freedom and, oh God, that's gross, or what a slut, or, But actually, maybe there's a part of us that would like to be the slut, Maybe there's part of us that would like to absolutely be in the darling of the art world. Maybe there's a part of us that absolutely wants to throw lavish parties and buy luxurious things and own that just because we can. So jealousy, when that arises, can really show us, I think there is some part of me that actually would like this. Can I own this? Am I willing to own this part of me? Because it's playing out. It's interesting. It's a really good exercise to do to begin with, just to check yourself on your relationship to these aspects. And that brings me to the second point here. Relationship. This is huge. This is huge. What is your relationship to your creativity? Do you judge your creativity? Do you say it's not enough? Do you get annoyed or irritated because your creativity is asking for your time and it's oh so inconvenient? Do you judge the financial place that you're in now? Do you judge money and the money that maybe you have or you don't have? Maybe it's never enough for you. Maybe you take it for granted. There's an ungratefulness there. How do you treat money in your life? And what about your sexual desires and pleasure? Are you embarrassed about your pleasure? Are you embarrassed about having those desires? Can you imagine if there was a restaurant where you were absolutely and utterly encouraged and the food was amazing, so you were encouraged to go, oh. Have you ever had that experience when you've been eating something and it is just so it's orgasmic, it's so delicious, and you just, you're making noises and and maybe it's messy and it's, it's not all nice and tidy, and get the little napkin and dab the sides of your mouth and, make sure you're using the right cutlery and all of these things. You can see what, the kind of British upper lip has done to pleasure. No wonder so much of it goes underground, gets suppressed, repressed. We know what happens with that. So be aware of your relationship to these aspects. Begin to explore what kind of relationship. Is it an abusive relationship? Is it a dependent relationship, particularly on money? Maybe even on sex, if that is the currency we've been using to get what we want. Do we use these currencies to manipulate in life? And as you're asking these questions of yourself, these inquiries, be very gentle. Be with what I call a kind curiosity. We're just discovering. Let's have a look what you're saying here, darling. Glad to come up for me. My teenage friend got mega famous. You know, look up for me. Just now with the friends getting a lot of acclaim. Yeah. I've oh my goodness, this one, isn't it? Yeah, the jealousy of somebody else getting famous, getting the thing that maybe we want to have. I know that one. This is so much. I've had it before. I've had it, especially as a woman. I've had it when friends have got married in the past. I've had it when friends have had babies when I was in my 30s and I wanted that. And it's a strange mixture. Yeah, it is. Kindness is absolutely huge. And there sometimes can be this strange mixture of feeling a joy towards somebody and feeling a jealousy. One of the most beautiful things I had with this, I think it only has happened the once, and it was in my 30s when a dear friend of mine was pregnant with her first child, and she rang to tell me, and one of the first things she said to me was, "How are you with this news? I know this is something that you've really wanted yourself," which I did at the time. She said, "I can understand if this is painful to hear." And there was such a freedom, such a liberation to own then, yeah, there is pain here. And there is a joy for you as well. We can hold both the paradoxes, the dualities of everything, remember. And we all have this. Yeah, absolutely. Of course. Of course we do. But we're complicated human beings. This is it. The secret is not to deny these feelings when they come up. They have a lot of power, and a lot of our energy, that currency that we're exploring here, is held into this. So, beautiful. And also, you know, I don't know about you, but I used to have loads of like fantasies about being on the stage, being a rock star. Wanted to be up there, get all that adoration and attention. Isn't it? I know. It was very beautiful, very understanding of the of each other and the delicacies of each other, the fragilities we have as human beings. You know, this could start off when we're very young. This could start off in the family, perhaps with your siblings. You know, the painfulness of sibling rivalry. Who got more attention? Who didn't? Who got praised for this? Who didn't? You know, same in the classroom. And very much in society, it's a very competitive society. And then we shame people for having these, what Clarissa Pinkola Estes, the woman who wrote Women Who Run With the Wolves, she calls the not beautiful of us. The not beautiful. We need to own our not beautiful. There is such a depth of richness in those places. And it's a big part of the work that I do. It's also a lot of cheekiness and mischief and play is caught up in these places. It's actually, they're very sexy to play out with as well. So I'm just having a look at my notes. I want to make sure I get everything that I want to say. So the other thing about all of these places I'm talking about, so first of all, yeah, we can have these reactions, responses, but then also it could be like, well, it's not as simple as that. Maybe I'm really scared to express myself. Maybe I'm really shy. Maybe I feel very self-conscious. Maybe I've always been one of these highly sensitive people. Maybe I'm quite an introvert. Or maybe I'm just, you know, I just don't know why I cannot step up and out. Maybe there's a fear of being successful. Maybe there's a fear of being visible, being exposed. Terrifying. So we keep ourselves small. But what gets put onto a lot of these places is shame. Shame. Shame is the biggest virus of them all. It's very human to experience shame. That's the irony again. Every single one of us knows shame. And yet, when we experience shame, boy, oh boy, is it hellish. Because shame's job is to hide us. to make us invisible, and not in a really good superhero power invisible. To hide our light, to hide our gifts, to hide our voice, to hide our presence, to hide our spirit. It's a death. It's like being a ghost when we're filled with shame. And often we do not realize that is what we are living in and as. And I have spent, I would say, most of my life in shame. I could write the whole fucking thesis till the fucking, I don't know, again till the end of time about shame. I'm actually going to call myself a shame mistress. I've just decided that right now. A shame mistress. Have I completely got rid of my ability to experience shame? No, of course not. Of course not. I even experienced this for a couple of days, actually. And I'll explain a little bit more about why shortly. No, but I now understand what happens when I experience shame viscerally, what happens to my mind, what happens to my energy. So then I can choose to move through and out of shame's grip rather than get stuck in the well of shame, which we know when we go into the well of any of these places, it's fucking hard to get out. It really, really is. So this is very different. I don't have to believe the stories of shame and it wants to take me away, kidnap me, lock me in a cage. Hell no. I have done that to myself for far, far too long. Maybe you resonate with this, you know? Maybe there is something in yourself that kind of resonates with, yeah, I understand that. This invisible cloak of shame, as I have called it before. Come see the shame mistress. I like that. Yeah, so there's lots of reasons, which I'm not going to go into right now, why we have been shamed. Again, I'll just mention something because it's very close to my heart. If you were very shy, when I was young, I was shamed for being shy. You know, gotta come out yourself, you're such a loner, you know, speak up. It was painful. I was painfully shy. And shyness is one of the most beautiful soul qualities. True shyness is enchanting when it's owned. It really is. It's mesmerizing. Ironically, all eyes are drawn onto true shyness when it's really claimed. It's funny, isn't it? And yet, we're not in our society taught to revere shame. Not at all. In fact, shyness. We are shamed for shyness. Calm confidence at times can be seen as that. But yeah, absolutely. I've had that as well. People have thought, oh, you're really like cool and chilled. And I'm just sat in a ball of shame. It's really quiet. So painful because it's so separating. Going back to what I was saying. So maybe you identify also with these sensitive places, which many of us creative beings have, because that's part of our superpowers, that we've never been told to revere those places and to honour them. In fact, we're told not to be like that they're wrong. Isn't it? It's beautiful. True shyness is a power. See, there has a power in that. So we have choices. When we start to look at all this and see this, we have choices. We have choices whether we stay in these limited stories and beliefs, these shamed stories and beliefs around our permission, in a way, to be creatively free, sexually free, financially free, in whatever way that means to us. Doesn't have to be loud and huge and, you know, on the front pages of magazines or in big galleries or, you know, like I say, gold coins pouring out of your belly button. It can be in the way that feels like for us. We have to ask ourselves at some point, especially if we're feeling that dissatisfaction, especially if we know there is something more, there's that yearning and desire. Are we willing to stay in that place for the rest of our lives, or do we dare to make a shift and a change? Do we want to? Either answer is fine. absolutely fine. Don't have to do anything. But I suspect if you're here, you're curious about how do I have more than that? And you know what? One of the things that I absolutely love exploring, especially at the moment, I'm doing a whole series very shortly on being subversive. Subversive is to take a look at some of these messages that were wronged and to switch them around. And one of these is about wanting more. Not in the beggar bowl, please sir, can I have some more? But in that I want more. To being greedy for more, hungry for more. There is absolutely nothing wrong with greediness, with wanting more. There is a catch though. This has to be grounded in the heart. It has to be connected in relationship to others. It has to be with an intention of service, in whatever way that is. Otherwise, it's unanchored, doesn't mean anything, and guaranteed, however much money you have in the bank, however much fame you have, you will not be happy because it has no substance. So we're about the substance here. So have a think about that yourself. How does that feel to hear that? What if it's okay to be greedy, to be hungry for more? What does that feel like in your body? So again, for me, as I say that, I feel cheeky in a good way, you know. I feel there's an excitement in my body. I feel my eyes are moving around, like I'm looking around at what else is possible. I can feel my body moving, my legs moving, as if that energy wants to go somewhere. How would it be if I allowed myself to be greedy? Interesting, isn't it? I'd love to know your thoughts on that one. Or maybe it scares the living shit out of you. Maybe you're like, oh my fucking God. Maybe it brings up those messages that you were taught not to be greedy. That it's wrong, it's sinful. You know, might be you grew up in a religious environment. This could all come in. Maybe you were punished for your greed in the past. Same with things like selfishness. But there is a place where we have to start to take ownership and play with these beliefs. We're not trying to fix them. This is important. We're not trying to get rid of these places. We're simply bringing that magic trickster energy, turning stuff upside down and going, what if I change this belief? What if instead of I can't be selfish, we change that to, how would it be if I allowed myself to be selfish? Knowing it was from the heart, you're asking your higher self, knowing that it's about connection and being in service. So it's not taking power over or being smaller. Those are the places we get stuck in. You're getting to like the idea of it, yes. But it's about instead liberating part of our energy, our currency, our flow. And these will have stuck to our creative energy, our sexual energy, and our money, our currency. They'll have been stuck a little bit like, what do they call those things when they get stuck to stones and rocks? I want to say limpids. I don't know if that's right. I feel like that's one of the things that are in your fats in your body. But those things that stick. And interestingly, when we start to work with these, we will be surprised or not so surprised what opens up for us in all these areas. We only have to work on one of these things and it will impact those 3 areas. Guaranteed. It has to. Now, I don't know about you, but doesn't this sound exciting? And also this brings us into a place where we can't be shamed. You know, someone else can't go, you're really greedy, because we know. We're taking ownership. Someone else can't go, oh, you're actually being quite selfish. And we go, yeah, I know. It's good. I'm enjoying it. When we don't own these places, shame. I am wrong. Someone else can judge me and tell me I am wrong. With full ownership and reclamation of these places, we begin to live in this source of life, in the sassiness of life. This is subversive living. This is true freedom, and it's very, very powerful. Ugh. Yeah, it's exciting, isn't it? So, I'm just gonna like probably yeah, I'm gonna share just one other thing here, but before I do, I want to speak about something I mentioned before. I said about feeling a shame that had come up over me for a couple of days. And it's to do with visibility. And it's to do with what I'm about to announce to you right now, which is very, very exciting. So drum roll, please. Very exciting. You, my loves, are invited to my new 4-day masterclass called EROS, Creativity, Money and Shame. And we're going to go so much deeper into a lot of the things we've touched upon today. We're going to look at our relationships. We're going to look at the language that we use. We're going to look at shame, but in a very, very tender way. We're going to look at vulnerability. We're going to look at why innocence is one of the most potent superpowers to banish shame and to live by and from. We're going to look at our relationship to desire, to pleasure, and how to take back that ownership. We're going to get really honest with ourselves in how we look at these things in the world, in others. Some of the things that we've spoken about. The big thing about all of this, my darlings, is, yeah, no problem. I'm about to announce something. Come back later, my darling. Absolutely. So this masterclass is completely free. It's free. Isn't that exciting? Eros, Creativity, Money and Shame. 4-day free masterclass for you, my loves. I'm going to put the link into the comments shortly. All you have to do is click on the link and sign up. That's it. Do make sure when you do that, though, that you check your junk mail, because we know what it's like. Sometimes emails can end up there and be like, I never got any more information about that thing I signed up for that I wanted to do. So this is available to you. If you know of anyone else who you think this might be really, really useful for as well, then you can let me know and I will send you the link, and you can share that with whoever. We will start this masterclass on the 9th of October, the Monday evening, and I will send you more information and speak about it a little bit more over the next couple of weeks as well. But if you know that this is a no-brainer for you and you are ready to really overcome these ways that you've been keeping yourself invisible, where you've not been letting yourself speak up, where you've been keeping yourself small, where you've been waiting for others' permission, where you felt that very sensitive parts of you, you've not really known how to get over those, or whether you're just, you know that you are there, you're ready to just go for it, the things you want to do, but there's something that has been blocking you and you're not sure what that is. Or if you want to explore your new relationships to the biggest powers that you have, and you want to basically say, fuck you, society. I am not willing to live in fear. I am not willing to be imprisoned by you. I am willing to live in my creative freedom. This will be the revolution. Now, I hope that sounds as exciting to you as it does to me, because this is my work and this is what I am absolutely all about with every single thing that I do. So, my darlings, I just want to end with this. We get to a certain point, I think, where we realize that, and I think it's part of maturity, and a lot of us don't ever even get to this place, where we realize we have a responsibility for the life that we're creating. And we have a responsibility for the people around us. And we have a responsibility to the society and the culture and the community that we live in. And we have a responsibility to the world as it is right now, not just for us, but for the next generations, whether that's our children, our nephews, our nieces, friends, kids, and so on. When we realize we have a responsibility, things change. We start to realize we don't want to live in bullshit no more. We realize that we have a finite amount of time on this planet and in our lives, and actually we could do something important with this time. Like I say, it doesn't have to be big. It can be incredibly quiet and small. But the responsibility, when we wake up to that, know that we have a choice, which comes responsibility, and choice is power. The first place we need to look at is our relationship to our creativity, sexuality, and money. So, do join me on this free 4-day masterclass, Eros, Creativity, Money and Shame, starting on the 9th of October. I'm going to put the link in the comment section now. And as always, let me know what resonates for you. Do invite people to this group. Let me know if you'd like the link to send to somebody else you think might like to hear it. This is about true freedom, and this is what we are here for. So thank you for your time and your attention, my loves. I am beyond excited. And any questions, you can let me know. And I send you so much love as we head into autumn now, don't we? And towards the equinox that's coming up at the end of the week. The shift of balance. Are you ready to shift that balance in you? So, darlings, much love to you. Go well. Viva the creative revolution always.